portion of this video is sponsored by UPDF. No other piece of tech I own has been more impactful for me over the last year than my base model 14-inch MacBook Pro. For us, they become everyday tools and that honeymoon period fades. And the thing is, as corny as it sounds, the honeymoon phase never ended for me while using this 14-inch MacBook Pro. And in full transparency, I do want to say this review going in is overwhelmingly positive, and you'll see why. I bought this MacBook on launch and grew a YouTube audience of 10,000 subscribers almost exactly to the year. So here's my 1-year review of the base model 14-inch MacBook Pro from somebody who actually uses it for everything. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. On this channel, I cover gaming, tech, and a few things in between, so if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. If you don't, one of your socks will slip down while your foot is still inside your shoe. Jumping right into the build and design, honestly, you really can't go wrong. And while I wasn't a huge fan of it at first, it's really grown on me. This MacBook does come in two sizes, 14 and 16 inches, and while the screen size and max configurations can be different, as far as I know, they're aesthetically the same. And for me, I'm lucky enough to have multiple options for computing, from my iMac to my gaming PC, but if I didn't have any of those and I only had an option for a MacBook, I'd easily be going for the 16-inch display model. With that, the 14-inch model offers impeccable portability with insane power. The space gray finish I have is super clean, and the sharp edges and rounded corners are beautiful. Plus, I really dig the fine detail like the debossed MacBook Pro on the underside of the body. When it comes to the notch, I literally don't care whether it's there or not, although I do appreciate the extra toolbar space. I just only wish there was Face ID. Overall though, the design is sleek and minimal as with all Apple products, and one thing I noticed is that there's next to no wear and tear even after an entire year. So for durability, it's really not bad. And my favorite thing about the 14-inch again is the portability. Honestly, it's really nice and convenient to take such a powerhouse with me wherever I go, even if it's just to chill in bed or scripting a video on the couch. But I do want to give a huge thanks to today's video sponsor, UPDF. Primarily as Mac users, I think most people can agree the stock previews PDF app simply doesn't cut it. And UPDF has easily become my go-to PDF viewer on Mac, and is actually available across all platforms like iPadOS, Windows, iOS, and Android. With a great user interface, it's super easy to use, and as somebody who signs a whole lot of PDFs every day, UPDF makes it super easy to do with your own signature, alongside both annotating and editing any PDF you need. Leave a sticky note, leave a comment, or add or remove pages, and for added security, you can encrypt or protect your PDF files with UPDF. My favorite feature is easily being able to edit a PDF, turning this program from an A to an A+. That, and you can use one license across all of your devices. Check out the link down below in the video description, and thanks again to UPDF for sponsoring today's video. To talk about specs and performance, this can actually vary quite a bit depending how it's spec'd out, but to keep it more affordable and simple for myself, I did go with the base model. As a beginner creator, I simply didn't need more power, and even today this still holds up perfectly. The 14-inch base model comes with an 8-core CPU, 14-core GPU, 16-core neural engine, and 512 gigabytes of SSD storage. So what does that all mean to me? Well, it's a whole lot of power, and frankly, I've never really cared to do synthetic benchmarks, since that doesn't really paint a real picture of user experience, which is what I like to focus on. When it comes down to actually performing day to day, honestly, this thing absolutely delivers. Most noticeably for me is when scrubbing through and cutting 4K footage. While my Final Cut Pro timelines lack a bunch of effects and layers, editing is still absolutely butter and rarely has slowdowns or stutters. And it's not just creative work really. As much as Mac isn't meant for gaming, it does still do a good job at playing games that are optimized for the M1 chipset, and I'm really hoping developers tap into this power and finally bring gaming to Mac, although I'm not so hopeful about it. I also tested some other types of games really not meant for Mac, and even those performed almost better than the hardware they are meant for. This, for example, is Pokemon Scarlet running at 4K and almost a consistent 30 FPS. Here's another example as well of me playing Diablo 3 at 5K resolution at a solid 60 FPS. And as an added bonus, this MacBook also acts as my live streaming rig when streaming to YouTube through Streamlabs. Again, I can't stress it enough, even for this base model, it's beyond powerful and more than enough for me. My only struggle comes down to storage. I really wish I upgraded when buying it, but I simply had no idea how restricting 512 gigabytes would be. But what isn't a struggle is how absolutely beautiful the XDR ProMotion display is. With 120Hz refresh rate and 1000 nits top brightness, it really sets this Pro line apart from the rest of the Mac offerings. I'm truly a sucker for ProMotion as well. As a gamer who usually plays on high refresh displays, this is a huge feature for me. And viewing content on here is great as well. The colors look incredible and help give me a good reference while working on video projects. And while 14 inches can be rather small, I've edited countless videos on just the MacBook itself, and personally I felt like it was just fine. Apple did do a good job on this display, and it's easy to love. The display is easily a shining feature on this MacBook, but setting itself further apart from the lineup is the array of available ports. You've got 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports for displays, accessories, and charging, a freaking HDMI port which is just rare to see on modern MacBooks, and a huge one for a lot of people is the SD card slot. That one I don't personally use since I shoot all my videos on iPhone, but it's nice nonetheless. 2 other ports I haven't really used much is actually the high impedance headphone jack and MagSafe. Mostly I'm using my wireless earbuds like my AirPods, so I don't really need the headphone jack, and really I'm always docked to a display, so I haven't really had to use MagSpace. I'm likely going to be traveling a little bit more next year though, so I'm sure it'll be useful then. And to touch on the keyboard, I actually think Apple nailed it. The keys are actually pretty tactile and they don't have the mushiness like previous iterations of MacBook keyboards, plus it has a full-size function row key, which I personally love. Sometimes I ditch my keyboards entirely and just use my MacBook in front of my monitor, which holds up pretty well. And what remains absolutely unmatched in my experience is the MacBook Trackpad. Even Apple's own external trackpads, while similar, don't seem to have the same feel. Again, between responsiveness, haptic feedbacks, and gestures, this is literally the best trackpad in any tech I've ever tried. When it comes to the speakers, for a 14-inch model, they're actually pretty impressive. Not that I've ever really had to put them up to max volume, but they don't get overly distorted and keep a good level of fidelity. And while both the mic and camera are definitely passable, I would still recommend a dedicated external mic and camera, especially when it comes to creative work and voiceovers. That being said, any sort of calls work very well. For myself, my first couple videos on this channel were recorded with the built-in microphone, but I quickly realized I had to upgrade. To touch on the battery though, it's kind of hard to judge, especially since I'm always docked anyways. My main experience with the battery is that it's been great. I haven't really even had to think about it, even when editing a full video on the couch or something. Now this whole package, even at my base model, is still kind of expensive, coming in at $2,000 US. And with Apple products, they're rarely cheap, so for me, I'm really happy it's paid for itself within the last year. And if you are trying to get a hold of one of these, I always recommend checking out Amazon since these are frequently on sale. And to round the whole thing up, like I said previously, this review was definitely going to be overwhelmingly positive, since honestly I almost have to look for something to hate, and I simply haven't really found that yet. And if I sound like a fanboy, it's because I am. This MacBook has gotten me through a whole lot within the last year, and I couldn't have built my entire YouTube channel without it. Anyways, that's been it. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like or subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.